Good evening, everyone. Hello, everyone. You are watching the final round of the season here at Invictus Racing League. My goodness, I did not think we were going to get things underway. There has been a bit of a jump start in terms of the qualifying situation, so it does look like some drivers have readied up before the clock was supposed to go. Someone has readied up, so we've got drivers without setups on by the looks of it at the moment. This is the final round, but yeah, it's just unfortunately it has gone a little bit wrong, so we're gonna have to do that again. So you are watching Invictus Racing League. You are with me, Jack. Of course, I've been here throughout most of the season here, commentating over season 21, the final round of the championship. It's just a bit frustrating that someone has accidentally readied up. We're in a sprint session, of course, so the problem that we've got is that if anyone readies up early, they don't get the setup on the car for the sprints, which is frustrating. Someone keeps pressing the wrong button. We have got punishments in place for it, however, at the moment we haven't been able to do that. So let's get these settings loaded up. Let's get everybody invited back in again. It's just so frustrating when this happens. But we'll go from there. Just make sure everyone's in the right position where they need to be. Yeah, okay, let's get the invites going out to everyone. But we have got a massive championship fight on this evening that I'm really excited about commentating on. And I know that everyone here who's watching live in Invictus Racing, you guys have been excited about it. I've had quite a lot of discussion with a number of people talking about the championship finale. And what we're doing is we're just inviting everybody back into the lobby just to get everything sorted. But it is a championship fight, of course, between Bjorn de Boer and, of course, Sydney. Bjorn de Boer does have quite a large advantage, admittedly, of 17 points, but that does not mean it is over. We've got the sprint race this evening, and we also have the feature race as well. So there's more points on offer. There's 24 points technically available because we've got 17 for a race victory, 6 for the sprint, and then a fastest lap point to go alongside that too. But alas, we've got to go through every single person to try and invite and sort out. I wish there was a quicker way of doing it, but this is where we are right now. You get to see everyone and all of my friends. So I've invited as many people as we possibly can in. The stream was working before. I'm having all sorts of... It happens to be the final race of the season where we just seem to be having a lot of technical issues. But we are doing our best to get everybody back in. We're just getting... We need to have... I believe we're waiting on one of the Aston Martins. It's not just the Wolf in for this evening. We're also missing J. Ray Bay. We've got a couple of drivers who've come up from Tier 2 to race tonight. Excited to see how those guys get on. We've also got a debutant racing tonight. I cannot see his username at the moment, which is a little bit frustrating. I think he's gone off the line, so we'll just have to have a look for him. Jordan will be joining us as well in comms, so it won't just be me on my own, but he's just sorting out a few different personal issues at the moment before he jumps on. We've got most people in. We also need to make sure that the weather settings are correct because it was due to be dry weather. I saw light cloud, so that's the one that we're going to go with. I'm just waiting for Andre and then we will get underway. Hello to everybody else who's commenting. Quite a lot of you. We're just looking for... There he is, Psychic Chip. And once he is in, we will be able to get underway again. Hopefully, there he is. We're having a few issues across the board, everyone. At the moment, it just seems that I'm speaking with a few people at the minute as well, who are looking at the stream but they can't see the stream. There's all sorts of manner of chaos going on tonight, for whatever reason, unbeknownst to us. I have told everybody to ready up as well. Oh my days, that's fantastic. I forgot to add the sprint in. It's just one of those days, people, where everything seems to be going wrong. I'm so thankful that we've got a fabulous little community of everybody in there. We are back and sorted. Right, there we go. Everything is up and sorted. That was this is I said this at the start of the season. Actually, this is one of the issues with being a commentator and a broadcaster at the same time. You've got to juggle so many different things. But there we are. The timer is underway. Thank you to the eagle-eyed spotters within the sprint settings. And to everyone who's in the Discord, we are about to get underway here for all of the racing action in Invictus Racing League. We, of course, have the sprint race followed by the feature race. It might have took us 20 minutes, but we have finally got there. Hello to everyone who's on the stream. This is an exciting time ahead. I've been really looking forward to this race actually over the past few days, knowing that this is the final race, of course, of season 21. We have explained to everybody, don't ready up early, because otherwise we won't be able to load the setups. We are due to start in just a moment's time. We have got the ready up screen. And someone has actually readied up. Shock horror. This is absolutely shock. It's incredible that 17 adults are unable to follow a simple instruction. But there we go. We're going towards turn 1. We should have had enough time. And we are on board at the moment with Psychochip. But I want to skip ahead to whoever is in first place. Well, it was Bjorn de Boer. He's now down in 10th. Our championship leader is going to bring us through this lap here at Melbourne as we approach the first couple of corners into turn number 4. We've got J. Ray Bay out. He's retired early on in the session. We're going to go through the left-hander here at turn number 4, then 5 through here, up through the gears for the Alpine. Nice and flip through here at the 8, and number 9 is doing okay so far. Bit of battery usage going on. We can keep the telemetry on for the qualifying session because we can see how the usage is being deployed. Into the quick left and right hand corner in the third sector of the lap. We've got to nail the apex here, which, to be fair, Bjorn's done a very solid job of that moment. Couple of corners left in sector 3, but braking down here is vital. Overshoot the corner, you can go into the gravel trap, but that's nicely done from Bjorn. Lines it up on the outside. 3 corners to go. Can't go too close to the curb. He nails that really nicely. And then down through the final 2 corners of the race circuit. Up into 3rd gear, then 4th gear. A little bit of kick-up oversteer for the championship leader. DRS wide open. And it looks like this is going to put him on the 3rd row of the grid. It does indeed. It's a 1:16.1, but it's Sydney. Currently has the pole position. Let's just have a run through of the provisional qualifying results for the one shot. We've got an all Dutch front row of Sydney and Gel. Then it's Paul Racetech and Psychic Chip. Well done to Psychic on his debut in IRL. He's on the 2nd row of the grid. Owen and Bjorn de Boer are 5th and 6th, with Sunboy the Steps inside the top 8. The Wolf and Ginger Tiger round out the top 10. Then it's the 2 RBs, the Racing Bulls of ARL and Ashtube. Denmark and RC Bruce set lap times as well. J. Ray Bay, Milo de Boer and Nitro, though, did not set a qualifying time. I'm just trying to tell our drivers not to ready up early. Marcos Struggle has asked a question to say, are you playing sim or with assistance? In terms of the settings that we've got, we do have some settings available for drivers that use setups. They might have ABS on, they might have the corners only racing line on, but typically there isn't much in the way of assists. You know, some drivers will run traction control, that's allowed within as well. So we've got a mixture, a nice blend for the drivers to utilise. Hello to JMB Surreal. He's looking forward to a great race from me and Mikey, but Mikey's not here. But hopefully Jordan will be joining us shortly. Gel saying, how is he 2nd? He only trained for 30 minutes. You just quit, Gel. That's why he should be in tier 1. And then Denmark saying, immediately locked up into turn 1, loving life. Fantastic, Denmark. I've just explained to everybody that we are going to be going very, very shortly for the race. So the drivers will be readying up, getting onto the formation lap, which will be pretty exciting. Hopefully somebody has decided this. It's interesting that we've actually managed to tell everybody to ready up, and yet no one has pressed the timer. So that's not ideal. But I've also noticed that Jordan has joined the lobby. I'm just going to stop for a second just so I can bring the sound in, because what the game likes to do for me is it likes to bring the audio balance off as we go on to the formation lap. Jordan, good to see you. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. I'm well. Obviously a little bit late, unfortunately, but I'm here for the, I'm guessing, the feature race.
Well, for the sprint.
Oh, even better.
Yeah, no. So we've had some lobby issues, and which was fantastic. We had to reset the lobby. Then what have happened after that was that I'd set the lobby up wrong for the sprint and had actually just left it as a feature race. But that's okay. We've all sorted it out. We're all here. And Sydney is on pole position for the sprint, and Bjorn de Boer is 6th on the grid. So as it stands, Sydney is, if it were to finish like this, Jordan, Sydney would only be 12 points behind Bjorn going into the main race.
Okay, so big implications then, just on a very small sprint race. But it's quite interesting actually having a sprint evening being the final round, because it just brings that little bit more element of more points available, and for Bjorn, he's got to make sure he gets through pretty perfectly.
Yeah, he will do, and you're right, Jordan. It does add a little bit of extra impetus on the drivers. There's a little bit more jeopardy involved. And the drivers for the sprint, I haven't actually got the information up, but we can now see it. We've got a blend of different race tyres. Interestingly enough, Sydney on the harder compound tyres. IRL debutant Psychic Chip, otherwise known as Andre, he is also on the hard tyres. Those are the only two for this sprint, Jordan, who are on the hards in the top 10. And in fact, through the field, there aren't many drivers who've selected the White Wall Pirelli tyre.
No, I mean, I do wonder if, especially with the way the game works on the tyres, whether a lot of people are trying to save the hard tyres for the race. We know quite a few times we've had, especially in Tier 2, double stints on the hard tyres, because they're actually a better race tyre in most of the races nowadays.
Yeah, that's absolutely the case. They really are. But Sydney has lined up on the sprint. Paul Racetech has put himself in the wrong position. Can he get a race win tonight to round off the season? I keep saying that every single week. We'll see whether the Red Bull driver can pull this off. But Sydney waiting at the start line. And we've got the 5 red lights about to come up here for the sprint here at Melbourne. Here they come. Who will make the best start between the Haas and the Mercedes? And the race is live here in Australia. Cracking start for one of the Williams in the background. I think that might have been the steps. But towards turn 1 they come. And Sydney is going to be side by side with Gel into turn 1. He's made it through. A couple of cars on the grass. I think that was Sunboy going off the road. He's dropping down the field. And there's contact in the background. I think Bruce has had something happen. And Sunboy has definitely fallen all the way down. But it's Sydney leading the way. Steps has had a good start. He's up to 5th place. He's going round the outside of Bjorn de Boer. A little bit of oversteer. The championship leader doesn't want any contact. Oh, there's more contact. There's a massive accident. The steps is round, and I think the Alpine, I think he's got damage. Jordan, can you see anything?
I'm just trying to have a look now.
He has.
Yes, he's lost the entire front wing out of turn 5. I mean, let's face it, side by side through turn 5 never ends well, and it hasn't done once again. But that is a disaster for Bjorn de Boer, because in a sprint race, having to come in the pits, you might as well almost park the car. He's going to have to really hope for a safety car later on this race. Absolutely
shocking development here at the start. We've got a couple of cars fighting in midfield. Nitrogas up from 17th on the grids into 10th, but it's all kicking off behind him. ARL up the inside of Psychic Chip, who also got caught up in that 3-wide moment, and he's got a broken front wing, so the debutant's going to have to go in the pits. Sunboy's probably thanking his lucky stars, actually, that he's got away with any damage, considering he went off the road as Bruce nearly runs into the back of J. Ray Bay. We've got a yellow flag, and that's Owen.
Round out of the final corner. Looks like he's just lost the rear coming out of the final corner into the wall on the inside. I mean, very prominent mistake to make in the previous year's game, and Owen finding the same mistake in this one, but he's going to now have to do a whole lap with a large amount of wing damage. So Owen having a bit of a nightmare there, but Sydney leading by half a second from yellow.
He is going to be absolutely delighted, is Sydney, if he can hold on to this. But he's got a 2 set of cars behind him in the form of the Mercedes of Gel and Paul Racetech. Those two have got a nice buffer to Ashtube, who's had a fabulous start. And the Wolf, I did say at the start of this, everybody, the Wolf up from Tier 2 racing tonight in Tier 1, and he's battling with Ashtube. He's going to be on the outside in the middle sector. This is brave between the 2 racing drivers. They're still going through side by side, but the Wolf moves into 4th place. What a start from the Aston Martin, man. He's absolutely flying.
Yeah, maybe a bit of foreshadowing for next season for the Wolf here. I think he's going well in the Aston. He drove very well in Tier 2, but unfortunately had a little bit of hard luck. But showing what he can definitely do tonight. Bjorn's carried on in the backseat with Psychic in the steps. But just referring back earlier as well to that turn 1 lap 1, Bruce got a tap on the rear as Denmark and Ginger Tiger going side by side. Denmark taking 6th away into the first corner. Obviously DRS now open as Owen now pits for his front wing. Bruce got a tap on the rear, which is why he then lost out through turn 1.
That makes complete sense then. So Milo, but Ginger was a little bit slow out of the first corner there. Managed to hold position from Milo de Boer, who's trying to fight for Alpine honours. Of course, the championship was settled, but Denmark, the man from, not Denmark, he's from Sweden, he's in running in the top 6, so he's on for a point in the sprint. His Psychic Chip picks up a time penalty, but I think Ginger Tiger is going to be under threat from Milo de Boer, and Nitro and ARL is going to swap places, and he's going to move into 9th position. Clean move that with DRS.
Yeah, interesting move from Owen as well. Soft tyres on that car. He wants to keep his mediums and hards for the feature race. I guarantee you that's what it will be, because the softs probably won't last that long in particular around here, but it's better off taking them now and suffer the pain now on the basis you're not going to get any points, and take your extra sets of tyres for the feature race where the points are bigger.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a really, really good point, Jordan, to make, that the drivers are just trying to save as many tyres as they possibly can, perhaps.
Yella on the back of Sydney coming through turn 1, turn 2. You'll have a bit of DRS. Question is he going to be close enough down towards turn 3? You're gaining. Where does Sydney go? Sydney goes left. Yella not quite close enough, but Yella's also got to be careful because he's got the Red Bull of Paul Racetech just behind, who's very eager, I think, to get into the winners column, even in a sprint race.
Yeah, he definitely deserves a victory this season, does Paul. He's had a fantastic time. He's just been really unfortunate. Has his gel, to be fair, for getting himself a race victory. So, you know, those two are hungry for it. They don't have any motivations other than the race victory in this one. But Paul is very close to the back of gel. I don't think he's going to be quite close enough to have a look at a move into the left right here as it turns 9 and 10. And I think gel's a bit too far back to make any impression on the race leader at the moment going into turn 11. But these three close together, as are Ginger, ARL, Sunboy, Nitro and J Ray Bay, all together as I would describe that as a quintet.
Yeah, it's good to see some of the tier 2 guys. Obviously their season finished last week, just come in and have a bit of a crack, see what tier 1's all about, and it brings a bit of another element to the tier 1 drivers, because realistically they've got nothing to fight for compared to the tier 1, so it just brings a little bit of strategy and sort of, do you really want to fight them in this race?
Milo de Boer moves himself up into 6th position. So Milo has some speed. He's absolutely flying at the moment in the Alpine. And bear in mind, he started on the 16th place. He's up 10 positions in this. He's probably cursing his bad luck in qualifying. Oh, massive snap of oversteer from Denmark in the background. But Milo up 10 places. Ash Tube up 7. The Wolf up 5. And Denmark up 6. So these guys have took advantage of the shenanigans around them, but Milo is the one who's properly on the move. His lap times are encouraging and he's on the harder compound, so in theory he could catch up to Ash Tube and the Wolf by the end of this race. He's not that far away.
Yeah, Milo's last lap in 19.7, on par with the Wolf.
Okay.
I have a fancy race control.
You do have a fancy race control.
As Owen retires in the pit, which I can now actually see last lap times, which is really, really nice as a commentator.
Oh, Sunboy went for a move up the inside of Ginger Tiger. Didn't look like there was any contact, and he's just got on the curb and had a slide. He's held it, and he's at the back of that quintet, which is actually about to be joined by IRC Bruce. So let's make that a sextet of cars, all fighting over, well, what would have been 8th place, but ARL just seems to have dipped down a DRS and pulled away a little bit. But it's fights all over the grid, and we are over halfway through this sprint race.
Yeah, ARL 1.8 quicker than Ginger Tiger on that last lap, so Ginger obviously making a mistake somewhere in the McLaren, but luckily he has the buffer of his teammates, although he might not for much longer as J Ray Bay looks round the outside of turn 3. It's a move that is very much welcomed by everyone in the racing community. Down the inside, through 4, up towards 5, he backs out for that, but it's the Sunboy taking a very opportunistic move through 5 as J Ray Bay collects himself again to get back up to speed.
Yeah, there was just a touch of wheel-to-wheel contact between turn 3 and 4 there, and Sunboy nipped. Then Sunboy tapped the wall coming through at turn number 5. I don't really know how he's got away without damage there, because that's quite a sharp barrier against the natural inclination of the angle that the cars will take. So he's a lucky boy, and he'll carry on. will the Mercedes driver, but nice opportunistic driving at the front. The front three, they're still together within DRS, but that looks like it's just settling into the status quo for the time being. But Sydney almost outside of DRS. But this is the main fight to focus on. Forget the race lead. It's over 9th place.
Yeah, 5th place is quite close as well. Only half a second between the Wolf and Ashtube, and Milo de Boer is catching them. Ashtube doing a 20.6, same as the Wolf. Milo took a second out of them on the previous lap, so Milo's getting into high gear here near the end of the race.
Yeah, those hard tyres as well, just starting to work in his favour. In fact, he's passed Denmark, but he's actually dragged Denmark with him. That's the point that I was trying to make, is that he's overtaken Denmark a few laps ago, but he's stuck with him in the DRS as the Williams. So Denmark's in a good spot to make this a quartet fight over the last spot inside the top 4. Ginger Tiger's still having the McLaren train holding everybody together in for the last spots inside the top 10 as Bruce goes past J. Ray Bay. I'm just wondering, J. Ray Bay was very slow. Did he have a moment as some boy goes past Nitro for a spot in the top 10? Oh, maybe not. Oh, contact, in fact, between Nitro and Sunboy, and that's the second time we've had wheel-to-wheel contact with Sunboy. And Bruce takes the place away from him, and J-Ray, he's going to look to the inside. That's going to be brave, and sure enough, he's not stupid. He backs out of it.
Yeah, I mean, it's worth noting, I think Bruce has now got 6 seconds worth of penalties to add to his tally. So, yeah, J-Ray Bay 3 as the Psychic, so he may well get a pass now, but that is literally just for on the road. Meanwhile, Milo de Boer right on the back of Ashtube now, and this could be a little bit annoying for Ashtube because he was focusing on going after the Wolf, and now he's got to look behind him as well as in front. And as we all know, you probably look more behind than you do in front, and he's going to cost Ashtube a bit of time and a bit of ground. Yeah,
it certainly will, and that's where his attentions are going to be focused on now, because he knows that Milo's got the better tyre at this point in the race. We know the mediums are okay around here, but in truth, they won't be as strong as they were in the first 3 or 4 laps of this race. You can see the Alpine has closed up, but with the Racing Bull in front of him having the DRS, that effect is neutralised. It's going to come down to the next couple of corners. Bit of understeer for the Alpine. Denmark just struggling to hang on now that the Alpine's latched onto this group. The Wolf, though, still hanging on to a very, very creditable 4th place.
Yeah, worth knowing as well, the track temperature's just gone down a degree, so well, that won't make any difference at all in the game, but it's an interesting fact as we head through the penultimate corner into the final corner. And Milo de Boer, he looks like he's going to shape up for a move here on Ashtube. He's got good traction out of the final corner on the hard tyre. Oh, doesn't go for it straight away like I thought he might do. He's going to wait for a little bit. I wonder if maybe Milo just...
Oh,
he picks up 3 seconds, which is going to ruin that attack.
Yeah, and even if he does go through, which is looking like he's going to dive down the inside at turn 3. Nice move, but to be fair, Ashtube coming back at him on the outside of the corner. There's going to be contact between the two. They make more contact mid-corner, but the Alpine moves into the 5th position place. But for Ashtube, it'll be a question now of just gathering himself up and keeping in front of Denmark, because he's still going to finish 5th as it stands.
Yeah, Milo just lost the rear going into turn 3 there. You just see the back end just kick out and just slide as he went into it. And it just sort of went into this. Oh my word, that was close between Ashtube and Milo.
Wow.
Into the 9-10 chicane. And I do wonder a little bit whether Milo has given that place up, but it's actually encouraged Ashtube to go wide, pick up a 3-second penalty. And Milo's looking down the inside, thinks better of it. But that looked very much like Milo sort of gave back that position. It didn't feel sort of natural, unless that was just pure I mean, that could have been pure DRS. I didn't quite see what the gap was at the detection.
There's definitely a little bit of battery usage in that fight as well, I noticed, because Ashtube had a fair chunk higher than that as we move into the final lap of the sprint race. We haven't seen much of the action at the front for the last few laps because Gel is having to defend from Paul Racetech into turn 3. He holds on for now. There's action everywhere. Will Milo get past Ashtube this time around? He's got the DRS. He's down the inside line. He's just got to brake a little bit later than the Racing Bull. They slide. They make contact. And here comes Denmark for 6th place on the road. And he'll be happy to sandwich himself there because he can just breeze up to Milo in the DRS shortly. And hopefully, for his sake, go past the pair of them without needing the advantage of penalties.
Oh, Oh, Ashtu gets all sorts of screwy. He's round at your corner.
I'm not laughing at him.
He's lost an end plate, but it's not the end of the world, as here comes his teammate of ARL to the inside. Will ARL take the place? Yes, he will, going down into chicane. I think Ashtube just going, I might as well let ARL through, because it's not worth any points.
No.
Meanwhile, Sydney coming up to the last corner, Jack.
He is indeed. He's had a solid sprint, and he's going to be keeping himself in the championship fight. It's a race victory then in the sprint for Sydney, who takes it as he goes across the line. Gel and Paul in unison, swerving across the road. What a result this is for the Aston Martin on debut in Tier 1 for the Wolf. He's going to come home in 4th. Denmark will take the penultimate points paying position in the sprint. Milo is 6th and will just hold on for that last point, despite his penalty from ARL, who ends up 7th. Ashley Beneath, it's a photo finish between Ginger Tiger and Sunboy, and Bruce has no front wing as he comes across the line.
I did just notice that. I don't quite know what's happened there, but he's trying to make that into a Formula Ford as Psychic finishes 14th, the Steps will be 15th, and Beyond the Barrow did pit for a set of soft tyres. Not really sure as to why, because unless he decided to get, I don't know what tyres he went on to after his pit stop. He may well have decided to try and save a couple of laps in that set just in case he needs him for the race.
I wonder, Jordan, if he's thinking I might get fastest lap point, but what Bjorn might not realise is that there is none for the sprint.
Well, not in the sprint, no. I was going to say it's unless he's preparing, getting a feel for the tyre heading into the feature.
Yeah, potentially for the next results. In terms of qualifying, but let's just have a quick overview of the provisional sprint results. It's a Dutch 1-2 with Sydney and Gel, who can't believe he's finished in 2nd place according to the comments. Paul Racetech rounds up the podium, a great result for the Wolf in 4th. Denmark and Milo de Boer rounding out the top 6. ARL in 7th, Ashtube in the thick of the action with 8th place. Ginger Tiger hanging on to that group in the end and holding them all off for 9th place with Sunboy inside the top 10. Nitro, J Ray Bay, Bruce, Psychic Chip, Steps, Bjorn and Owen, the only non-finisher for the event. But there was a lot going on there, Jordan, to be honest with you. We didn't get a chance to really cover Psychic or anybody like that, but hopefully nobody readies up.
Yeah, that's going to be the critical element, because obviously at this point people can now change their setups. Park firmly lifted between sprint race and feature qualifying, obviously new for the year. And it's quite a nice thing for the drivers, because it means that if in the race they felt like something wasn't quite right, they can make a slight adjustment that they think might. I mean, obviously it's also a risk, because you never quite know if it's going to work until you hit qualifying. Somebody's left the session, I'm not quite sure why that is. But yeah, it allows them just to tweak the car a little bit to maybe try and help them in feature.
Yeah, I'm just giving everybody a message to say that we will start at 20:48, just to give everybody a bit of time. I can get Sunboy back into the lobby, so that won't be an issue for him. He should be able to retake control of his car. So we've got 4 minutes to have a chat. ARL saying, my word, lap 1 was close to ending it all. Yeah, he was caught up in that 3-car incident, because the Steps and Bjorn de Boer were side by side, but sadly Psychic, who was in there, aka Andre, he was also mixed up in all that. He was behind the two as they clashed, and he was an unfortunate victim in it.
Yeah, I mean, it's always the risk, and it's why qualifying rounds Australia, while it's not important in terms of the fact you get into that DRS area, you can make overtakes around it. It's more important because of that first lap, because if you're in that midfield, it's so bunched, and when you're going down to turn 3, you're going to have 3-4 people with different braking points as they react to everyone else. It's so easy to get caught up in it.
It really is. It really is, and I think it's something that we've seen over the past seasons within IRL. We saw as well in the Tier 2 event how, you know, your grid position can make a massive difference because of the DRS trains as well. So not only do you have to qualify well to avoid the carnage, you also have to qualify well to be in the right place at the right time for your strategies, because trying to do something a little bit different around here, which is unlikely considering that this is a one-stop circuit, but if you wanted to try something a little bit different, you've got to be in the right place to do it. So I think it will be a one-stop today. Perhaps medium to hard tyre will be the preferred strategy for the top 8, and then after that, someone inevitably, maybe from tier 2, will try something different.
Yeah, it's a bit of a weird one really, because the problem is I think most riders would actually prefer to do a 2-stop for the grip and the undercut, but being in the DRS train at the time is so important. You can lose a lot of time if you make your pit stop, come out, and you're not in someone else's DRS straight away, and the group you're with still runs around in that train. There's a lot of time to be lost there. But if you do pit early and you take the undercut and you do come out in behind someone with some DRS, the gain is potentially there. It's one of those circuits where I think either strategy can work. You can probably make a 2-stop work, but you're going to have to time it just right. You almost actually want someone to be coming past you as you're leaving the pit lane, and it's about the only circuit I'd ever say you'd want that if you wanted to make a 2-stop work.
Yeah, absolutely, fully agree with you, Jordan. Everything that you've just said there, it makes complete sense to me. It should make complete sense to the real race drivers out there as well. So it's nice. To be honest with you, I was going to say before you joined, but I didn't have the opportunity to because qualifying was just about to. Well, I say qualifying. The sprint race was about to commence, but it's quite a nice. There's about a nice bit of symmetry for this season because you started tier 1 off this season, and you're with me to finish it.
Yes, I started with Mikey for the was it 4 rounds? I think.
First 4 races, yeah.
So, well, I mean, I haven't had it in my overtime sheet yet for doing 1.5 seasons, but yeah, no, it's nice to sort of see the start of it and then come back and finish it. To be fair, it's a little bit of a nice thing to see it through to the end of this, especially season 21, because it's one of those seasons as an IRL collective. You know, it's a sort of like a new era for IRL. You know, obviously new director who's not here.
Always goes well. To be fair, he's got a new chapter of his life going ahead right now. To be fair to him,
yeah. I mean, he is probably practicing F1 as we speak, but
yeah,
he is online probably. He's just not here. But no, it's a new chapter for ARL, and it's the thing for this season. And me and ARL covered it in sort of tier 2 for the tier 2 guys. It was nice that we had constant numbers in that tier. It made commentating not only very enjoyable but also very easy for us because there's always something to talk about, something to look at, and it's good to see that every championship pretty much has gone down to the final round as well.
Yeah.
So you know, it encourages everyone to sort of stay in and you know, race to the end, because as we've seen already in the sprint race, anything can make a difference in this championship fight.
Yeah, it really does. And there's an 11-point swing that could still happen, of course, in this championship fight. So do not rule it out yet. We are about to get going in less than 10 seconds' time. And Jordan, I think it'd be poetic if you could do a lap of the Australian circuit at Melbourne for us.
Yeah, I've not actually driven in the game, but we'll go around it. We're on board with Psychic then for the lap. So start finish line, DRS wide open. Nail the brakes about 75 metres, get it in, cut as much as you dare, but not too much, and then you get it flat through 2, because you want to carry all the speed down the back, down this next straight. Again, 75 metres into turn 3, it's mental how late you can brake. Use all the road you can, swing it back to the right for turn 4, don't hit the curb on the left or the right because it'll make the car unstable. 5 is flat in qualifying, use a touch of the curb, but again, not too much, it'll spit you around. Up to 6. Dab of the brake, turn it in, hope it sticks, and bring the throttle back in as you go left and right through turn 7, and then this almost non-corner sort of turn 8 with the DRS wide open. It's the first brake you really get around this circuit. Nail the brakes for 9 and 10 again, launch the car through it and hope it sticks, and so you can pick up the throttle early. Back to DRS, back to flat through at 11, down to the 90-degree right-hander, which has sharpened up a lot over the years. Again, maybe a bit too much curve use there from Psychic to get the power down into turn 12. A little bit of a lift, maybe a tap of the brakes to make the car rotate. 13 down to 3rd for Psychic as he tips it in. Again, you want to get back over to left to open up the last corner. I think he didn't quite open it up enough because he didn't quite get on the throttle as early as you would want, but it's across the line. Paul Racetech on pole. It's 6th place for Psychic Clip with a 1:16.3.
Well, that was a relatively tidy lap from the debutant, and he gets himself onto the 3rd row of the grid. His qualifying has been impressive so far at Australia, and it's really nice to have him on board at the final round of the season as his car decides to do a nice slide through turn number 3. But it's Paul Racetech on pole position. Once again, he's looking for that race victory. He knows how badly he wants it. But he's got the provisional pole underneath the Monegasque. Well, it's Maltese flag, actually, I should say. Sydney's in second. Gel is third. But importantly, Bjorn de Boer is fourth. Aschib is fifth, with Psychic Chip in sixth place, who we're on board with. Mayo de Boer and Ginger Tiger are inside the top 8, with J. Ray Bay and Denmark rounding out the top 10. The Wolf and Nitrogash are in the point scoring positions if it were to finish as it stands. Sunboy in 13th. ARL not setting a representative lap. Owen, Steps and Bruce retired from the qualifying session.
Yeah, so interesting start to this race then. Obviously it's a big swing that Sydney has to get, but it's not impossible. And as we've already seen, Bjorn getting caught up in an instant early on could spell disaster for him, but we won't know this until we complete the first lap. This going to be the crucial lap here, is this first lap.
It is as well. And the other thing is with this as well, in terms of the race, is that we have an 11-point gap between Sydney and Bjorn leading the way, of course. But one thing to note is with the IRL point system, that is the difference between first place and sixth place. It's not exactly an impossibility, like Jordan was saying. So we'd have to look at the countback results really with the victories throughout the season. Now, Sydney preloaded his victories early on in the championship in the first half of the campaign. He's had 2 feature race victories. Bjorn, however, has had 3. So we'd have to look at second places and third places, because in the championship regulation, Jordan, interestingly enough, we don't actually count the sprints.
No, because and the reason for that, sprints aren't technically Grand Prix wins as such, and it's the same in real life F1. They do not count sprints in a countback because technically, even though they have won a race, it's not a full distance race.
No, it's not a Grand Prix proper. So we are ready to go. The drivers have been told they can ready up at 20:53, so I'm sure someone will take that action. We can't see the timer when it comes up, so they might have pressed it, ladies and gentlemen, but you can't see it on my screen. Jordan, I don't know if you can see it, if anyone has pressed anything.
No, I can't see anything.
No, it's something that we've got. But Gel has said if he's in contention of a win, I'll sure try and get it. If not, I'll battle and try and stay back and attack on the last lap. If he's in P2. So we'll see if the Dutchman can pull something out of the bag. And Gel, again, he's just one of those drivers who needs a race win. But I reckon by that sound, Jordan, we've got the countdown.
Yeah. And also in a note as well, I've just had a look back at the table to look at countback results. Obviously, Bjorn de Boer has had 4 wins to Sydney's 2.
Is it 4?
So, yeah, he won at Brazil, Netherlands, Canada, and Abu Dhabi.
Right.
Which means that on countback, Bjorn, no matter what happens, Bjorn will win the championship.
Okay. So
I'm just writing down some permutations whilst I'm on the formation.
I appreciate that, Jordan. Thank you. So yeah, clearly you could tell I've been operating on less sleep, because I couldn't tell myself that Bjorn's had 4 wins. I've been present for all of Bjorn's 4 race victories, actually. So that's a bit of a shock to me to be able to get one of my own statistics wrong, but never mind. We just carry on. We got the tyre strategy on the screen. We got the top 9, like I suspected, on the medium compound tyre. Denmark has elected to go for the hards. He's the only one in the top 10 on the hard compound tyre. Sunboy, ARL and RC Bruce are the other 3 drivers who are starting on the Whitewall Pirelli. Paul Racetech at Sydney up the road, and then Gel, who is not following the formation lap standards. If that were to get reported, he'd get done for a penalty for that, because you've got to keep within the 10-car race regulation distance underneath the formation lap. So, Gel, you're fortunate that I'm not in the mood to do that, and if one of your competitors decides otherwise, I will let them do that. But strategy is going to be... I think it's one of those circuits, Australia, throughout the last few iterations of this game, it is better to start on the softer compound of tyre as opposed to the harder one, just simply because you've got to be in the right place at the right time with Australia, and the way that the tyre wear is around here, if you can get an undercut on the hards, it will leapfrog you ahead of those that you're battling with. So, ready for the final race of the season.
Absolutely, and I have just worked out all of the permutations. But we'll get through lap 1 and then we'll go through those because they're about to line up and get underway.
Yeah, Bruce, the final car in the Kick Sauber, lining up for the finale of in the entirety of season 21. The Red Bull of Paul Racek is on the right hand side of your screen. Sydney, one of the championship protagonists, is on the left. Bjorn's behind him on the grid in the Alpine. And the race is live here in Australia. It's a good start from the middle of the row there for Gel, but he's going to get blocked by Bjorn de Boer as they go into turn number 1. A bit too much wheel spin, and Bjorn has gone backwards, actually. He's not had the chance. There's a yellow flag out there. Ginger Tiger is out of the race in a safety car already.
Yeah, I didn't actually quite see what happened to Ginger Tiger, but I do know Owen went down the inside of people. I saw, I think it was J. Ray Bay, and the Aston Martin was all off on the outside of the grass as well. So I'm not sure what happened there. But Ginger Tiger, the unfortunate one, who's crashed into, I think that's where Hadjar crashed on his formation lap. Or going to the grid, but yeah, not really sure what happened. I was on board with Owen, and he went absolutely flying into the inside of the corner.
Well, I'm sure there'll be some connotations in the chat about that. I'm really devastated for Ginger Tiger. He's had such a raw season. I mean, we had that highlight a few weeks ago at Canada where it looked almost as if he was going to get a podium thanks to penalties, but he missed out in the end by 0.4 of a second, so it was really, really close. But it's just been a middling season through arguably a multitude of reasons that he's had. But sadly, it's a sad end for him to have that. Is there... If J. Ray Bay's got damage, Jordan, I'm just wondering if there's anyone else who might have picked up anything in the melee that ended up with the retirement of Ginger Tiger.
I'm just trying to have a look now. So I can see a lot of front wings intact at the moment. But again, obviously, we and Psychic Chip coming into the pits. Okay, this is interesting. Is he now going for a 2-stop strategy, going hard now? Because he's now used that medium tyre. He no longer needs to use it after completing that lap. J. Ray Bake obviously coming in because he needs a new front wing. But I can't see anyone that's got no front wing. So obviously, we're presuming there was an incident with Ginger, but as we know with the inside curve here in Australia, it could simply just be a kick off that curve.
Yeah, potentially. I mean, your point about Psychic Chip's a good one because I didn't have any damage as far as we're aware, and he did start on the medium tyre. So is that the possibility? Is that what we're going with, the double stop on the harder compound tyres? Just keep his options open.
It would make sense because, I mean, 14 laps on a hard tyre. I mean, they easily done 10 in the sprint. Granted, there was obviously less fuel in the car, but obviously that's going to burn down later as well. So I think it's very, very feasible to do the rest of this race on 2 sets of hard tyres. And we already know with the mediums, they're going to have to stretch those a little bit to make the one-stop work. So we'll give the advantage to Psychic Chip here, just to gain a bit of time before the first round of proper pit stops.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. So let's see if he can build his way through the field, because that's going to be the next step for him. He's shown some good speed in qualifying, and he definitely deserves to be in Tier 1 on the evidence of just tonight alone. He's right in the mix already, and he's on a different strategy. The good thing for J. Ray Bay, though, as well, Jordan, is that he's in a good position, because even though he's got had a broken front wing as he catches up to the back of the pack, the benefit for him is that he's still on the same strategy as everybody else. Yes, he's had to change tyres, but he's not going to lose. He doesn't have to do an extra stop compared to everybody, if you know what I'm referring to.
Yeah, it's not an extra green, as the Americans would call it, an extra green flag pit stop. And actually, I see Bruce. This is an interesting one from my my normal teammates and those who've watched IRL streams in the past will know me and Bruce very well for our wacky strategies and making weird strategies work in lower tiers back in the day. So I wonder what he's got cooking up here. Is he thinking if the safety car stays out, he might just run these for a lap, come back in, put back on the hards, and go again. I'm not quite sure what's going on here, but either that or he's going to look to make up a lot of positions very quickly, because again, it's going to be 3 laps down, and that might be enough to make, in his opinion, a one-stop work with more like 26 laps.
Yeah, that's a possibility. I would also wonder if he's looked in the field that he's in with Sunboy, IRL, Psycup and J-Ray, and they're all on the hard tyres, and maybe going to the mediums. Might be able to try and pick his way off a couple of cars in the opening lap or two. That might be part of the strategy, but that's a wild one. That's a wild one from Lee, and the safety car, aptly timed, is in this lap, so Paul Racetech has got control of the grid.
He does, and whilst he should really slow it and let the safety car go, quick bit of permutations. If Sydney was to win and get fastest lap, Bjorn needs 6th place. That would tie them on points. Obviously, we know Bjorn would win on countback. So all of these permutations based on Bjorn being tied with Sydney. Sydney wins, but no fastest lap. Bjorn just needs 7th. I mean, I'm not counting Bjorn fastest laps because there's just no need. It's just a minimum. Basically, Sydney has to finish at least 3rd, with Bjorn not scoring. If he finishes 3rd with no fastest lap, that's the biggest thing for Sydney. He needs a podium at the very least.
Right. Well, we're on board with Sydney, following the Oracle-sponsored rear wing of the Red Bull, and the Red Bull is shooting off out of the final corner. That's a nice restart, actually, from Paul Racetech. He's got the lead, and he's got a nice, healthy advantage as Gel weaves to get his tyres up to temperature. Into turn 1 they go. Line astern. Doesn't look like anyone's making any moves at the moment, but Sydney was just closing up to the back of Paul's Racetech then through turn 2, but he didn't quite have the momentum to take him along. Of course, DRS not active until lap number 5 as Bruce goes past J-Ray Bay for 15th, but that looked like J-Ray let him go.
Yeah, I think J-Ray, knowing that Bruce on those mediums isn't really his fight right now in this race. Psychic was having a tiny look at ARL down into turn 3, but thought better of it. He's obviously going to sort of wait a little bit. I don't know if you got the same glitched graphic of a yellow flag in sector 1. There isn't. For anyone that might get a bit scared, there isn't anyone in sector 1. But it looks like a nice clean getaway as the steps goes past Denmark. Both reserves in the Williams, so I don't know whether they may be working together there.
Yeah, and of course these two ex-league racers within Gavra back in the day, so they know each other quite well actually. As you can see,
Owen down the inside.
Just about keeping it on the road. It's Nitro.
Down into turn 12, and Owen does finish it through 12 on Nitro Gash. A little lock-up from Denmark just up ahead, but nothing too bad doing.
Really
good racing
nice
from Owen and Nitro. I mean, they race each other enough times to know what each other's going to do, so it's good from them. So it looks like Psychic now is going to start to line up ARL for a move possibly down into turn 3.
I'll just keep an eye on that.
Bruce sets the fastest lap.
He'll be delighted with that. He'll take a screenshot, of course. But Psychic, he is close to ARL, but as I said before, if he wants to get up through the field, he's got to make some quick overtakes. And right now, he's just a little bit in the train, but we're still only on lap 2 of racing action, realistically, in terms of live green flag running. But Paul Racetech, he's got a nice buffer to Sydney for the time being. He's managed to get that gap out, but the championship protagonist wants a bit of the race victory action. Look at the closing speed. He's going to go to the inside. That was nicely telegraphed. And the Haas moves into first place. And if I'm right in saying, he's got a time penalty. Now, that is not expected from Sydney. He's not someone who picks up track limit warnings often. But that is going to be hampering him until the end of the race. I wonder if he's got a double penalty in one go there. Because that seemed odd to me.
Seemed a bit odd, but then there's enough places around here where they, especially the tier 1 top guys, they do cut a lot of the curve, especially at turn 1. And obviously you do get done if you run wide through turn 2. So it's very feasible that it has happened, because Sydney's probably all over the back of Paul Racetech and wanting to get past as fast as he can so he can get off up the road and basically put pressure on Bjorn here to make sure he finishes this race in a suitable position. Bjorn all over the back of the yellow, but right now Sydney, I mean, you can't even work out the permutation here because of that 3-second penalty.
No, it is problematic. I mean, actually, we could. He's right now finishing in 8th place.
Behind Bjorn right now.
Yeah, so that's that permutation rocked on and sorted. The only thing I can think of, Jordan, is that you can get a double penalty out of turn 10 in this game. I know because fairly proficient with penalties in F1 25, but I'm just looking at where he went off the road, and I'm just thinking, has he picked up a double penalty? I'd like to think that's the case so that we can keep it as neutral as possible, but for Bjorn's benefit, he won't care. He wants him to finish behind. But there's Paul Racek. He's right with him into the next corner as Psychic Chip picks up a penalty. But Sydney is pushing so hard already. He knows he wants to try and get away from these guys, but DRS is so powerful around here. It's worth at least 6 or 7 tenths a lap in race trim.
Yeah, absolutely. I didn't realise you made it this far in a race around Australia to know the penalties. But
I did this season, thank you.
But yeah, Sydney, he needs to get off the road. He needs to break this DRS as fast as he can. And he just needs to escape here, because at this point, all Bjorn's got to do is just sit in this train. He doesn't even have to go for a move on yellow. Who's got fastest lap? That's my next question. It is Sydney in a moment. So sixth place right now is all Bjorn needs, and he's currently sat in 4th in the train.
He does. Psychic and ARL having a battle side by side. Through turn 5, we've got the Racing Bull going off the road and gets back on circuit. So Psychic now moves up to 13th. So that's slightly alternative strategy that he's going for, which we don't yet know about, as ARL picks up a time penalty.
As Paul Racek back past Sydney with the DRS down towards 9:10. Now I wonder here with Sydney, I wonder if he can play a bit of a clever... Oh my word, that was an interesting line from Paul Racek through the kink right before turn 11. I wouldn't have gone that wide, if I'm completely honest, with my DRS wide open. But yeah, I do wonder a little bit with Sydney if he was trying to play a little bit smart here with Paul Racek, because if they can leapfrog and both get out of DRS range of yellow, they could potentially build a gap together and then deal with it at the end of this race. Yeah,
I'm thinking the same thing, to be honest with you, Jordan. I wonder...
I think yellow's too close for it to work at the moment, because yellow's... That gap was 7 tenths, but it's now down to sort of half a second.
Yeah, it's a little bit... It's going to be unlikely for them to try and pull that off at the moment. But the pace is relentless at the front, because Milo de Boer did lose DRS then. He's having to use a bit of battery to climb back onto the group, but they have now distanced the Wolf. So that has become a top 6 fight. It was a top 8. Steps lost DRS, and then the Wolf did. He was, unfortunately for him, the Wolf was right with them, but as I said before, 7 tenths is what it's worth. And look at the gap now, just extrapolating out between Milo de Boer and the Wolf. That's just going to get bigger and bigger with the advantage of DRS. But Milo is just hanging on as Sydney and Paul Racek swap again. And Bjorn must be thinking to himself, do I try and get past Gel now and just try and stick with these guys because they might be able to leapfrog, or do I just sit here? Because right now 4th place is enough for the championship title.
Yeah, I mean, you can't get too complacent with Bjorn. You still have to be right on it and keep up the pace, but I'd be thinking right now, unless the move is actually 100% safe right now, there's no point getting involved here. And the other thing you have to remember is, if he starts fighting with yellow, there's every chance they could then be gapped by Paul Racek and Sydney, and it makes it that little bit harder that if he does fall back, that Sydney's penalty won't come into effect with anyone else.
Yeah. All of those, there's so many connotations tonight of what could happen. Milo has just latched back on. So he was swinging in and out of the gap, but he's managed to climb back onto the top 6. So those guys have gone away, and now the Wolf is being pulled in by Owen and the Steps. So those guys have become a trio. Denmark is, if his teammate can help him out, might be able to join up with that group as well with DRS. It's going to be very tight. Sunboy and Psychic, they're following him as well. Don't forget those guys on the hard tyres. Psychic, I'm still curious about that decision from Andre in 12th place. I'd like to know why he selected that. I wonder if he's going to try and do a miracle run on those hards, but I'd be absolutely...
I think it's because, and this is genuine thoughts here, and I sort of understand this strategy. It's something that me and Bruce have done before. You get onto the harder compound now, and come the end of this stint, he will be quicker than those ahead of him. And you can drag these hards now later into this race. If he's got a second set of mediums, he can then put the mediums back on when everyone else is on hards, with less fuel, so they should wear a little bit less later if that's the way he goes, or he can put on another set of hards a little bit later than everyone, and again have that tyre lap delta difference. So I understand the strategy, but he's going to have to make sure he gets past the likes of Sunboy in Denmark fairly quickly to then start taking advantage of it to get up to the back of the steps and Owen.
Yeah, the other thing I wanted to add on to your point, Jordan, is that he's also got to keep the overall race time gap down to the leader. He's 8.5 seconds behind at the moment, and you'd want that to be just a little bit less if you're going to try and pull that strategy off if you've got clean air. But he's now got... He's the sixth car as part of a sextet here, Jordan, because the Wolf is at the front of this train, 6.4 seconds behind the race leader, but then he's got a queue of 5 behind him, and Owen, I think, is going to be the first person to try and make a move. Here he comes in the Ferrari towards the 9-10 complex. He's going to go to the outside line. They're going to go side by side, surely. Yes, they do. But the Ferrari moves up to 7th place, and the Wolf was almost under pressure from the steps, but I think he's just about managed to fend them off for now. But Psychic has moved past Denmark, who's made a mistake.
Yeah, no, it looks like Denmark made a slight mistake out of 7, which allowed Sunboy up around the outside. It then allowed Psychic around the outside of turn 9. But then, so they both Psychic and Denmark then cut the corner through turn 10. So both of them would have picked up warnings at least through there. But Denmark, yeah, he's very, very slow to get back up to speed through that section as Nitrogash now pits. That can only be for a undercut on everyone in front.
Yeah, just looking at the gap that he had, he was 14.5 seconds behind the race leader, as the entirety of the bottom half of the table, except Nitro, have picked up a time penalty of some form. So that's less than ideal for the drivers who are in the fight in this, but I suppose it might equalise it a little bit more for everybody. But we are following Psychic. The top 6 are all line astern right now. The action there is very much status quo, not much going on, which is probably how Bjorn would want it to be for the time being. But I think Milo's just lost DRS again, and if he has done, he's going to slide down the field, and Steps goes past the Wolf.
No, Milo did keep DRS on that lap. It's just that he dropped out after detection.
Gotcha.
But poor Race Tech was closing in on Sydney.
Free wide! Free wide into turn 11. That's never going to work, and the Wolf's into the gravel trap as a result, and he's going to just get back on the track. He brings all of the gravel onto the exit of the racing line. It was 3. It was so bizarre. I've never seen 3 wide like that. Psychic Chip was at the back of it. The Wolf got overtaken by the steps, was held up by Denmark as a result, and Psychic just went down the inside of the pair of them. Denmark and the Wolf made contact, and the Wolf's now in the pits, presumably to get rid of those medium tyres. So, yeah. Opportunity knocks for Psychic. He's keeping himself in the hunt.
Yeah, it's a problem with turn 11. It's a very sharp corner nowadays. It's not like it used to be where you could just feed the car in. It's very much get the car stopped, get it rotated, and go again. But because of that, I think it's ended up being quite a little bit wider on the array of lines you can probably take into, because of the massive curve on the outside as well. So it does invite people to make 3 wide to try and work. Meanwhile, near the top, Steps and Owen are having a bit of a fight. Steps gets past Owen courtesy of some DRS action. Milo de Boer has picked up a 3-second time penalty, and that's not going to help his race, but he's sort of away from everyone else for it to become effective. But yeah, the top 6 still just line astern here, and Sydney's going to want something here. There we go. 3 cars into the pits. Poor Race Tech, Yellow Geese and Beyond de Boer have all now dived into the pits. Poor Race Tech getting right on the brakes, locking that Red Bull right up as he goes into the pit lane limiter line. And it's going to be hard tyres all around, I think.
Front wing change for Bjorn.
Oh, interesting.
So Bjorn's had damage, so we didn't see that. So the second race in a row where Bjorn's had damage, he's come out just in front of the Steps. So let's not forget, before the pit stop, Steps was running in 8th position. But Bjorn will now have fresher tyres and will be able to make up some of that gap back on Sydney, but he's definitely going to come behind. Ooh, it's connotations. It's all going on again, Jordan. So,
and here's the interesting point. Psychic Chip, 10 seconds clear of Poor Race Tech right now, and Poor Race Tech's got to get through a DRS train of traffic.
Yeah, so Psychic Chip playing himself back into the race.
Bruce not fending off Race Tech, as I thought he wouldn't. Bruce not getting involved in this championship.
Well, It's all to play for now. Oh, and Paul is now another driver who picks up a time. J-Ray Bay moves right out of the way. So for Paul now, he's got 6 seconds worth of clear space in front of him as the top 3 are all into the pits. Milo de Boer has just closed up all of the gap on Ash Tube. He was 8 tenths behind. He was nose to tail coming into the pit lane. That was a late breaking move. So Psychic Chip leads the race. Where will Sydney end up in relation to Paul Racetech?
He's going to be behind.
He is. Oh, well, it's going to be close. But I think he will get through in the Red Bull, and he does. And the thing for Sydney is that he needs to get those tyres up to temperature as quickly as possible. But thankfully for him,
between Denmark and Sunboy through 3 and 4. Ooh. Bit of contact through 4, and into the back goes the ARL as well. It looks like a little bit of game sort of hooking together through turn 4. There's just a tiny bit of front to rear contact, I think, between Sunboy and Denmark, but they've managed to get through. I'm not quite sure yet on if there's any. There's no visual damage I can see, so everyone seems to have gotten away with it. As ARL looks to go past Denmark here. But yeah, that was very, very close. Psychic leads the race, but we both believe he's going to have another pit stop to come. Paul Racetech now at 7.2 behind him, so he's taken nearly 2 seconds out of Psychic. In the couple of laps he's been on that fresher tyre.
Yeah, and the frustrating thing for both Paul and Sydney is that they've got time penalties and Gel has kept it clean. So Gel, for all of his worth, will be doing his utmost to stick with this group.
Sorry, Jack, Beyond the Boa has been overtaken by the steps.
So that pit stop for a new front wing has really...
I do wonder with Bjorn whether he left on auto. In the thought that it might not change that front wing. But it did. I mean, I know sometimes you leave on auto thinking it's going to change and it doesn't. A lot of the time. I wonder if this time he's actually changed it for him, possibly without him really wanting it. Because he didn't look like he was running all that badly.
No, it was relatively okay, to be honest, like you say, Jordan. But this is important for the championship for him, because I'm just looking at the drivers who are yet to pit, which is of course the top 4 and J-Ray Bay. So as things stand, if those guys pit now, they'll come out behind the Alpine, but Bjorn would be 7th, so he actually needs to get past steps right now for the championship as Sunboy and ARL. Oh, ARL off into the infield section of the track there, and I think Denmark and Paul Racetech, thankfully for their benefit, are a little bit too far behind. But here comes the Red Bull. Paul Racetech down the inside. Important moves being made for potential race victory here, but Paul has gone through and he's got a car between himself and Sydney and Gel as well. So timely move as Psychic Chip goes into the pits. That's a nice move, potentially from Sydney, round the outside at the final corner. Lovely work from the Haas driver. Gel's going to follow him through as the race leader of Psychic Chip pits, and Denmark is going to have to concede the position, and he does. Gel moves into 5th, but cracking work from Sydney, and he's plastered to the rear diffuser of Paul Racetech, who we are following behind the race leader, which is Sunboy at the moment. But this is a close...
Big moment for Sydney on the way in, and it looks like Yellow Eason got a little bit sideways as well. He's coming out of 3. I think he basically had to check up because Sydney got a bit sideways. But here's the critical thing here for Paul Racetech, Sydney and co. AR and Sunboy, they do not have to move out of the way. They can fight this position, even though it might seem like the most pointless thing to do right now. They are more than welcome to fight for that position on circuit. They do not have to get out of the way.
No, and they're absolutely not doing. ARL's trying to fend off as much as he can. It all comes down to what Sydney does realistically. And what's been annoying Sydney is as well is that Gel was just outside of DRS before that, but because the 2 in front of them are quite slow on those harder compound tyres, it's slowing everybody up. Sydney in the gravel, and Gel goes through. Well spotted, Jordan, but Gel goes past and up into 4th place on the road.
The ARL.
Go on, Jordan.
Opportunistic from Yellow Geeson there. Door was open from the Haas, and he stuffed that Mercedes down the inside and said, "Yep, I'm coming through." And ARL does now move out of the way because. And this is what I thought with ARL, that he wouldn't give quarter because his teammate is in the running for a race victory right now. So he's helped Ash Tube get onto the back of this pack, and right now all he has to do is try and get up to the back of Yellow Geeson.
And it'd be a stunning turn of events if Ash Tube was able to try and take a race victory, because Ash Chief's had what I would describe as being a very topsy-turvy season at times in that Racing Bull. You know, he had a podium back at Saudi Arabia, but that is literally all he's had. So to be in the thick of it for the final race of the season would be wonderful. But Gel, he's in the back of the Red Bull who moved across. Sydney's gone round the pair of them. They were too busy watching each other, and Sydney breezes round the outside into turn 9, and the championship protagonist is back in the hunt again, and he's got prime position as Ash Tube moves into 3rd. Pick a winner, ladies and gentlemen, because it could come from any one of the top 8 at the minute, top 7 I should say, at the minute. Wow.
Yeah, I mean, the interesting thing now is I can pick a moment of the day on my results database that we use in IRL. That might well be it, because I've not yet used it this season, because I only found out about it about last week. But yeah, that might well be a moment of the day from Sydney. What a fantastic move again! All of these overtakes we're seeing, very opportunistic moves. The door's open and it's there to be taken, and the drivers are not. They're not saying no to any invitation. Key moment though, Bjorn de Boer in 6th place right now. That's enough, no matter where Sydney finishes.
Yeah, the championship is in his hands, and the best thing for him as well is that he's got his teammate in front of him and his brother who will just let him go if it stays.
Who also has a 3-second penalty.
Yeah, as does Paul. So it's working in Bjorn's favour. I know that Sydney still has his penalties, but you just don't know. Sydney just feels comfortable in the lead, even though he's got pressure from behind. But with that, Sydney picks it, and
I thought that was too much.
Yeah, that might just have taken it realistically out of Sydney's hands now.
I mean, the worst part is if you've got 3 seconds, you can probably you might be able to find one that isn't really a warning, and you might be able to get rid of it. Unfortunately, right now, to get rid of that, he's going to have to find 4 warnings that weren't warnings. That's not going to happen, I'm afraid.
No, that isn't. And what he's going to have to do now is he's going to have to try and find the Linford Christie of all laps here to sprint away from everybody else. But the problem is he can't. He still has the DRS train behind him. Interestingly, Bjorn has dropped out of DRS there. So I don't know if for Bjorn he's just trying to take a steady racing score. He's trying to finish the race as slow as he possibly can to take the championship right now. But he wants to be on this train, Jordan, because if he falls too far back, the penalties won't matter at all. Yeah,
side by side between Psychic and Owen. Round the outside of turn 4 and completes the move, clips the wall through 5. He's going to allow Owen back up the inside potentially into 6. Can't quite find the room. But also I think Psychic was down the inside of 3, continued it around the outside of 4, and then completed it on the entry to 5. So good stuff there from Psychic, but he's going to have to get past ARL, who's still out on those hard tyres, looking maybe for a safety car here. 18 laps he's done on those tyres. This is the 19th one. He's been on those from the start. I feel like it's going to be a pretty easy move for Psychic down towards turn 11. Though he doesn't actually take it. That's a surprise. He was closing in, a little bit of a bump on the back. Shouldn't take this position. He will do.
I will say
ARL might chuck that one in.
I will say this much. ARL I was on board with, and he lost the rear end as he was under the braking zone, and then Psychic was already on the brakes, but it was just a momentum situation. Normally I would agree with you on that one, it was a touch to pass, but I had another angle at that one, so I think if it were to go in, I think Psychic would get away with that, to be fair, because he did kind of avoid it as best as he could. But alas, when you're on 19 old tyres, Jordan, I think if you've got your brake bias slightly towards the rear, that's the only way that your car's going to have momentum going into the very sharp right-handed turn 11.
Quite possibly. I mean, we know ARL has struggled this season with. I mean, I even sat down one night and helped him with some wheel settings, so we know he's struggled a little bit this season. But he's slowly picking that rhythm back up. Obviously, this race kind of has been the strategy Cohen has been a bit detrimental, but I think he's done it as a massive sacrifice for his teammate here tonight. And well, we'll see if it pays off. But right now, his teammate sat in a provisional 2nd place,
which would be, for both Racing Bulls, the best result of the season. So it's, at the moment, it's all up in the air, and you've got 2 drivers, well, you've got 3 drivers actually in 2nd, 3rd and 4th who've not had a race victory this season, and they're all in deep contention for it. I mean, if we look a little bit further, Milo de Boer, he won at Monaco, but that's the only race win he's had. this season. So Sydney and Bjorn are kind of top ending and tail ending. All the other guys who want to score a +1 to their race victory name for this season. Even the Steps and to be fair to the Steps, his strategy's worked out. He picked his way through the traffic quite nicely whilst everyone struggled, caught up to the back of everyone, and he's joined this group. And again, another driver who was part of the ex-Gavra group who's joined us partway through the championship, and he's having a fun time and he's doing a great job.
Yeah, it's been good to see the debutants here, and obviously hopefully we see them in the next season that we have. It'll be good to keep them on board because they're providing some good entertainment. The Steps, speaking of, all over the back of the Alpine of Beyond the Bar. I didn't know they might have gone for a little bit of a look down through the chicane. But just as you like, I know you like stats, Jack. 5 race winners this season in total. Beyond the Boa taking 4 of those. Sydney with 2. Shortbread, Milo, and Mert all taking a single race victory.
The best thing as well is that we had, in the opening 5 races, we had 5 different race winners in Tier 1, which is something that we don't normally see in IRL in terms of the competitiveness, because normally we have, and he's not here at the moment, but Captain Alien himself, Mr. Merckx, obviously had his issues with his injury that he's got, so had to retire from the season. We hope to have Merckx back. Owen is out
in the pit lane.
In the pit lane whilst running in the top 10.
Although the car's
Sydney's gone off the road. Sorry, Jordan. Sydney has gone off the road and broken his front wing, and he's in the wall.
There goes the rest of the wing.
He taps Bjorn de Boer as he bounces off the wall, and I fear, Jordan, that's his championship over, unless there's some miracle safety car for him.
Yeah, they've recovered Owen's car, so no safety car for that. So that is the end of Sydney's championship hopes. I mean, to be fair, we all knew coming into this it was an outside chance. To pull 17 points back on your opponent even on a sprint evening is a mighty ask. But you have to give credit to Sydney. He gave it an absolute go and a half. It's just not quite worked out, and I think we possibly side by side between Ashtube and Yella, but instead Ashtube having to fend off Paul Racetech, and here comes Milo de Boer right behind him down the outside. Is he going to keep the throttle in? Yes, he is. Inside for the final turn. And here comes Beyond the Boer trying to get his nose in. Thinks better of it. Although right now, the championship is his, regardless what happens, because Sydney's going to have to make a pit stop. Yes, and unless there's a safety car and he can make a miracle work, at the end, he is not going to get a podium finish. But yeah, actually very close to yellow, but then that turned into an opportunity for Paul Racetech, which then turned into an opportunity for Michael.
They're all fighting. I mean, it's amazing. You can look and there's just one frame covering the entire top 6 right now. But sadly for Sydney, going off the road, it's just cost him any chance of his championship. He's gone onto the soft tyre, and knowing the speed that he's got, he'll probably pick his way past Nitro and Denmark for first place. But alas.
Well, Denmark and ARL still have to pit.
Yeah. Here comes Ashtube for the race. Oh, he's lost it! He's gone sideways. He's broken his front wing. He turned the wheel too much, and the Racing Bull somehow has only got a broken front wing. But Gel moved a little bit to try and defend his place. I think that just caught it out. I'm not saying I was blaming Gel or anything.
Beyond the Boa has got the steps going round the outside of turn 11, but that's not going to work. It's too. You've got to be at least in front into turn 11. You're going to make that one work. Yeah, unbelievable seeing Ashtube. That's a big shame for him because he was running very, very well. It's sort of story of the season really for Ashtube. He gets himself into really good places and then something happens and it's just another one of those races, I'm afraid, for Ashtube.
Absolute nightmare for him. And it's such a shame because he was looking for a move as Milo now lines it up against Gel, who's going to go to the outside line of the Mercedes, and he moves into first place. And Gel almost loses the rear end. Everyone's just starting to struggle. It's almost as if panic stations have hit. They've seen Sydney go off, and now they don't know who wants to lead this race. Here we are on lap 24 with 6 to go, including the one that we're on. Paul Racetech was almost in the wall.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm just going to note one thing here, Jack. Beyond the Boa is technically second.
Oh, no.
You know, and this is the one thing, and it's something that sort of I haven't driven for a couple of seasons F1, but it's always the way I used to drive. Keep yourself out of trouble, keep yourself clean, and pick up the pieces. And look where it's got Beyond the Boa. He was running in 6th, 7th place most of this race, and now he's got a potential second.
Yeah, he's having a fantastic time, and he's got one hand on the championship crown. I just wanted to come back to the situation with Ashtube, who's now got the medium tyre on. Gel would moved slightly into the middle of the road. It wasn't a late move or anything like that. He just moved slightly to the right. And then I think because Ashtube's had to go further to the right and then tried to come back round the corner, he's just lost it with the DRS. A little bit like how Maldonado almost lost it years ago in Austria as they were approaching Turn 1 when he was trying to overtake Esteban Gutierrez. So the difference is that it's ended up with, sadly, the Racing Bull in the wall and onto a new set of mediums to get to the end of this race. But and Psychic Chip, Jordan, thanks to all of that.
About Psychic. He was a couple of seconds. He was a couple of seconds, like a lap and a half ago, and he was closing because of all the battling. I was literally about to mention it just as after you're going to be done with your points. So yeah, Psychic, again, he's got penalties to contend with as well, but doesn't mean he can get involved and start poking his nose around, even though he's got 6 seconds worth of penalties.
I do wonder if the rest of these top 5 drivers are now wondering, because Sydney's no longer involved, are they all just going to go for it in these last 5 laps? They don't care about penalties. They're just going to push flat out to the end of this race. And if that is the case, we've got one hell of a final setup ready for us. Psychic is so close, but he's just off the back at the moment. He gets the time underneath a second, but not before the DRS detection point. So he's just fighting what could potentially be a losing battle. I don't know what his battery management's like. It's not too bad. So he's going to have to do it this lap, I think. Otherwise, he's not going to get latched on unless there's another incident, I fear.
Yeah, the leaders come through turn 3 and turn 4. Milo leading the way, but with that penalty attached to him, 3 seconds. Yella just behind. And this is a bit of a hard one to work out here for Yella. Now he can sit there. As Paul Racetech goes wide, and that allows Bjorn de Boer through. Didn't quite get that one right. And here comes the steps to the inside of the Red Bull. He's going to look to the outside of Bjorn de Boer through the left-hander up towards the 910 chicane. They're going to be side by side, I think, between Steps and Paul. No, Paul decides better of it. Decides he's going to try and fight another day.
Oh, and here comes Psychic into that position. Thank you, Jordan. Paul having that little wobble, and Psychic's going to try and go all the way around the outside, but he's going to put a wheel in the gravel trap, and that's going to suck all of his momentum into the gravel. So he's just about hanging on. Is he going to go to the inside of the penultimate corner? He does try, and then he kicks up the rears, and that costs him his opportunity at a top 5 place. He'll drop out of DRS for that.
Yeah, it was a slightly silly idea to go for that move, just purely on the basis that he's going to have more grip. He's got 3-lap younger tyres than those ahead of him. He'd have easily got traction out of the penultimate corner into the last one, as Paul Racetech picks up another set of penalties, which means that race, if Psychic can get on the back of Paul Racetech again, that is a genuine race for position.
Yeah, it is. They've both got 6 seconds worth of time penalties. There's no point in looking at the tyres now, ladies and gentlemen. That's what we want to focus on, the time penalties. But we've got a real fight for the race victory, because it's Gel versus Bjorn. And if Milo is thinking the way he could be thinking, does he play the dutiful teammate here and try and back the Mercedes of Gel into his teammates to try and make it a true crowning glory moment to take the championship? Because it's not out of the realms of impossibility. He's not going to... I don't think he's going to clear 3 seconds now with 2 and a bit laps to go.
Would you like my honest answer?
Go on.
No.
I knew you were going to say that.
At this point, Bjorn has got the championship. This is now just an end of season drive. You don't need to be messing around with trying to hang. If it was a case that Bjorn was behind and had to get sort of second or above to get this championship, different story. On this one, Bjorn's got this championship now. As long as, regardless of what happens here, he could pretty much throw it off the road, I think, and still win this championship.
Yeah, he'd be okay.
Position. So at this point, this is just race to the end, and no team orders. Let's end this properly without sort of saying a word I can't actually use on stream. Put it that way.
without any team orchestrations, I think will be
I've got a different word for it.
You have got, so do I, but we're gonna be politically correct here, and we're gonna go with the team orchestrations version. We've got a quartet now at the front, of course. Paul and Psychic are having their on-scrap battle for a spot inside the top 5. It's a great debut from Psychic, but I just feel, Jordan, that the strategy, whilst he tried something different, and I really do commend it, I think it's arguably took him away from potentially a podium fight, realistically.
I disagree. I think had he not made that mistake and gone down the inside of Paul Racetech at the penultimate corner, he'd have been right on the back of this top 4 with fresher tyres. He'd have been right in there, but the biggest problem and his biggest enemy here has been not actually abuse of track limits, but just not working within those fine margins that we know F1 has for the track limits. Had he not had those and didn't make the mistake with Paul, I think he'd have been right on the back of the top 4 and he'd have been right in this for a podium.
Well, I think you make a very good point, to be fair, Jordan. But we are on the final lap of the entire season of 21. Milo de Boer leads this pack at the moment. He's got Gel with him, he's got Bjorn with him, and he's got the Steps with him, who, once again, the Steps seems to be just finding himself in really strong places, similar to how he was in Canada, right in the thick of the battle for a podium, but his penalties are going to take him away from that. It's all going to come down to the battle of the battery packs now in terms of who saved the most amount of battery and who can get a good exit out of this corner here. And it looks like Bjorn's a little bit further away than what he would have wanted, so it's coming down to Milo and Gel, and they're both on the battery packs at the moment.
Yeah, and Yellow's got a very, very important decision to make, because he could sit behind Milo and take the win, but then risks Milo getting that penalty removed. So if he gets it done on track, there cannot be any doubt that he wins this race. But he's not close enough into turn 11. He's going to look to the outside. I think he should have tried to switch back there. And oh my word, that's interesting. I think he just lit. That was by no means in any way deliberate. He just lit the rears up, and unfortunately Bjorn was in the wrong place, wrong time.
The championship lead is going to get overtaken, but it won't make a difference for him. Milo de Boer is going to take the race victory, but the man in 4th place on the photo finish is your photorealistic champion of season 21 in Tier 1. It's Bjorn de Boer who takes a fabulous championship. What a result. What a season for him to take second to the man who currently provisionally has the race victory. If that is the case for Gel, it's been a long time coming despite all of his efforts to get a race win. And if that is the case, well done to him. I'm sure Milo will have something to say if that's the case about track limits, but wow, what a final race.
Yeah, Bjorn de Boer gets second for now, and I'll tell you what, Jack, Psychic gets 4th on penalties, so
yeah,
his
strategy was right.
The strategy was there with that safety car. It did work with the tyres. To the tyre delta, basically, is what he played with. ARL, who is going to probably do some donuts here. Yes, he's going to try to. Seems like he's left the traction control on the car. He's going to get disqualified at this rate because he's going to be driving the wrong way. But we're going to get some celebratory donuts from the RB car. That was in which was apparently born in Faenza. I don't think he was, but he's going to come across the line now and now do some unintentional donuts because the rears are so warm.
Oh my days, this is... I mean, we're all waiting to go home. Here he comes. I mean, he's done
time and a half waiting for this. Yeah, that's cool. But
wow.
Yeah, what a race. And to be fair, Jack, I think it might be the first time in IRL history where we've had 2 tiers. All championships have been won by Alpine.
Yeah, that's a really good point, actually, Jordan. To be fair, that's a fabulous point that you've made. But I mean, shows
you how realistic it is.
Yes, it does. Yes, I mean, of course. I mean, if we were living in the real world and everyone had equal performance, maybe Pierre Gasly would be world champion. But we'll never know, because the powers that be will never let us allow an equal performance league. The Dutch drivers in the top 3 celebrate on the podium. We've got our race winner, of course, being Gel, who is absolutely delighted. Sydney takes fastest lap in the end. Driver of the day going the way of the Steps in the game, and Sunboy gets the most overtakes. We'll go through your provisional race results. It's Gel Geeson with the victory. It's Bjorn de Boer, champion of Tier 1 Season 21. Milo de Boer makes it an Alpine 2-3 with Psychic Chip on his debut in 4th. Paul Racek in 5th with the steps in 6th place. Sunboy and the Wolf, great result for Wolf tonight in both the sprint and the feature race. 7th for Sunboy, 8th for Wolf. Ash Tube and Sydney ran at the top 10 with Nitro getting points and J Ray Bay also scoring points at the end from one of the Tier 2 drivers. Bruce, ARL and Denmark all finishing. And then it's Owen and Ginger Tiger, the 2 retirees from this race.
And that caps off season 21, and it's fair to say what a season it's been. Every championship going down to the last round, and every single race having exciting times. And granted, one finish in Australia, one finish in Abu Dhabi, that's definitely not taken away from what has happened this season.
No, definitely not. It's just been one of those. It's been a really wonderful season 21 for Tier 1. I think it's been the most competitive we've ever seen it in the years that we've competed within Invictus Racing League, and both championships going to the final round, multiple race winners, multiple podium finishes. It's been really, really pleasing, but the man that has kicked on the most in the second half of this campaign has been Bjorn de Boer. I did think after the halfway mark Sydney was in a world of his own, but as Sydney said, Bjorn has kicked on in the second half of the championship. He's been outstanding, and with 4 race victories in the main races alone, makes him a worthy champion.
Yeah, absolutely, and as we saw with Sydney, he had a great start, but as we went into the second half of the season, just those mistakes crept in, the sort of unlucky elements as well. It just hit him in the second half of the season, and it was I think it was a surprise to us all.
Yeah.
Sort of when he made those mistakes, and some of them he will openly admit was his own mistakes as well. You know, we didn't expect that at all this season, and you know, we enjoy the unexpected, but maybe not quite like that.
Yeah, I mean, that's absolutely true. I'm just looking at these comments. Gel still can't believe he's won a race. How on earth did that happen? ARL saying the strategy that you believed he was doing, Jordan. He did try holding up the front end and have a podium chance, and they were on for that. They were on for a race victory potentially if Ash Tube had got around Gel, but alas, it's just not been their season. And that kind of surmised it really. But a podium each for their efforts in this championship campaign, but those podiums probably feel like a bit of a lifetime ago for the Racing Bulls, considering it was in the first 3 races.
There's 2 races, Mexico and Jeddah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, when you look back on the results, Bjorn de Boer, 5 race wins, 4 of those coming in the second half of this season. You can't really argue with that, not really.
No, you can't. You can't. And at the end of the day, you don't just win your championships by luck. You do have an element of it to the championship victories, of course, but you make your own luck, and your driving ability is what has to see you through. And that's what Bjorn has done. And there haven't been many instances where I've seen Bjorn make a mistake, and that's what's brought him his first ever Invictus Racing League championship. And well, he's going to have to try and defend it now. He can enjoy the celebrations today, but he's got to start tomorrow to defend his preparation for the championship crown.
Yeah, I mean, if anyone's watched the Rush movie, it reminds you of the last scene where Niki Lauda tells James Hunt he needs to get on with it and start breaking his balls, I think, was the phrases he used. And I'm allowed to say that because there's nothing nasty in it.
No.
So yeah, I mean, and in essence, that's what's going to happen. Because let's face it, Sydney's going to come back stronger.
Yeah.
Yella's going to be right there. I mean, you look at the pace of Ash Tube. There's every chance Ash Tube could be there next season, and because his pace is really, really good, as Ash Tube, he just needs to reverse the luck or do something with that luck to actually get himself those consistent finishes.
Yeah, and there's quite a lot of drivers who fall into that category. You know, Gel was involved in the championship fight until the penultimate round. Shortbread, who's not here tonight. Happy birthday to Shortbread, by the way, if he's watching. You know, he's not here tonight. He's another driver who won a championship race and had a couple of pole positions. Sunboy, I feel like Sunboy underratedly has had quite an unlucky season. He was fifth in the championship going into tonight's race, but he's just had a bit of misfortune. He's had technical issues that have gone on. Paul Racetech, will he ever get a race victory? I'm rooting for him more than most because Gel's got his now, but Paul just has but he just keeps missing out. It's like one or two things don't seem to go his way. You could look at ARL, you can look at Milo De Boer, you could look at, Stinos as well as another driver. He didn't take part in as many races this season, but he's been quick. That's the point of Tier 1. Everyone's bloody quick.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's why I got lapped when I raced around Brazil. But yeah, it is one of those tiers. I mean, it's a very difficult tier, and the problem is obviously those that are in the mid to lower pack. It's quite a hard tier. I mean, it's one of those tiers, and I think the best comparison is when myself and Bruce first started with IRL back in, I think, something like season 13 or 14, a long time ago now. We came into it. We came into the F3 category. We were not quick compared to everyone else, and we were just happy with points paying finishes. And back then, it was the top 10. It wasn't the top 12.
Yeah.
So we were just aiming for points finishes. And I think that's where the mid pack here in tier 1, the mid to low pack, that's where they're sort of like, if they get into that points bracket by the end of the race, that should be regarded as a very high achievement. I mean, obviously on stream, it doesn't get covered as much, and obviously it's not through any fault of commentating or anything like that. It's just because you've got a race winner, you've got a podium. But obviously, we don't ever forget those in that mid-pack that do get those points, because that is a really big achievement, especially in this tier.
It is a big achievement, and you're absolutely right, Jordan. You've made some really, really strong points, and I think it's good advice for everyone moving forward in terms of just never giving up, just keep battling away, and for all of us here from the Invictus Racing League management team, we'd like to say to everybody who's competed in season 21 across tier 1 and tier 2, thank you for participating. It's been an amazing first season for all of us involved. We've learned quite a lot as we've gone through this championship. There's mistakes that we've been made that we're happy to own up to. And that's the whole point. You've got to make mistakes sometimes to keep learning, keep developing the league, and that's okay. These things happen, and we're going to keep developing everything ready for season 22. The plans for season 22 haven't been finalised yet, but what I will say is that the season will be slightly different from what most are used to. It's not a radical change. What I would note, but it'd just be a little bit different from what we are typically used to running at IRL. But guaranteed, once we get past Christmas, we will be back to what people would suggest as the traditional way of running the IRL calendar. That's what I'm going to say on that point. Yeah, I think we should finish up shortly.
Yeah, I think that's a good shout. But yeah, I mean, obviously, I think it's worth obviously all the drivers, obviously thanking all of them just for participating and making our lives as commentators very easy. It must be said, I mean, I don't think we shut up during that race. We didn't stop talking rubbish. No. So, that was always, it's always very good to have that. And obviously, I think, as you say, as admin team as well, obviously it's been very appreciative of everyone being a little bit sort of patient as the season got them going, as it's gone through, and sort of this transition into a new period. Just having that sort of patience and sort of tolerance that we, yes, things won't necessarily go right. Most things, I think, pretty much a lot of things have gone right, which is fantastic to see. But obviously having that patience with the admin team, just as everyone finds their feet, as they say, and we progress towards the next season.
Absolutely. Wise words, Jordan. But that is it for season 21. We will give you more information in the coming days and weeks about our plans for season 22 and how that will shape up. But of course, you'll be the first to know about that. Keep an eye out on our social media pages. Of course, they're all active that we've got and live, so you can check out our YouTube posts, because we do post onto YouTube as well for information there. You can check out, of course, the following: Facebook, Instagram, and of course X. Do sign up to the Discord. It is linked in the video description for you for every single round. If you want to go back and watch all of the fantastic action from season 21, there is a specific playlist in there for you to go and view all of the action as many times as you want, especially for Bjorn, because he'll be watching it repeatedly, reliving his best championship momentary life. So happy days for him. But from all of us at Invictus Racing League, thank you very much for watching throughout this championship campaign. It's goodbye from Jordan.
Goodbye.
It's goodbye from me, Jack. Thank you so much for this season. Wherever it might be in the big wide world, stay tuned. We'll update you soon on season 22.